Hello and welcome back. Well, we created our animation montages earlier and we set up a slot. So go into the tutorial car 1 folder, double click on our El Diablo car blueprint, and we will basically end up with our sword attachment we created in an earlier part. So just navigate to an empty space, right click and type right mouse button. You can put in any other key or use any other key or button. So this is up to you. This is optionally. Now the next thing we want to do is to specify some animation montages. But we need some kind of a variable to hold our montages and to reference them. We will use something called an array. So left click, go into the left panel, click on add new, click on variable and call it montage array. Keep it selected, go on the right side, go under variable type and click on the boolean selection and then type in anim montage. And we want to select the reference. Now, right now, this is the object type montage, but we want to have an array. So we need to click on this blue box here and then select this grid-like symbol, which is called an array. Now we have our array, and what is an array actually? Basically, to put it simply, an array can take an arbitrary amount of the same object type. So if you have a lot of montages here, you can add a lot of different montages and specify what they need to play. So an array can hold any number of an object of the same type. This is important, of the same type. So it can have multiple entries, like a list of some sort. Okay, so we need to specify our montages. So go on the right panel, have our montage array selected, and click 3 times on the plus sign. Why 3 times? Because we created 3 different montages. So on the first one here, we will set the nearest word /1 anim montage. On the second one, we will select the nearest word /2 animation montage. And on the third one, we will set our nearest word /3 animation montage. Now we are done with this. So the next thing we want to do is to drag out our montage array variable, click on get, and we will first let it rest here. The next thing we want to do is to actually have a node to play our animation montages. So we can right click and type in something called an anim montage, play anim montage. Select it and you will get this node. We will not use this node. Why not? Because if you use this node, it will only be applied on the inherited mesh or in the inbuilt mesh in the character blueprint. So if you happen to have a custom skeletal mesh, like this for example, this montage will always target our mesh instead of our custom mesh. So we can do it in a different way. So delete our play anim montage, drag in our mesh. You would do the same with the custom mesh. with a custom skeleton, but because our standard mesh is already called mesh, we will use this. Drag out from the blue pin and type in get anim instance. And what this basically does is it looks into our game, which we have currently running, targets our animation and gets the instance out of it. So we get the current animation running, the current animation state, because we want to apply our montages to this current animation state. So that's why we use get anim instance. So drag out from our return value here and type in play montage and select the node montage play. It does exactly the same, just that you can plug a different skeletal mesh into the target and apply your montages to your custom create skeleton mesh asset. So this is pretty handy if you have a custom mesh. Okay, now we created it. We could now try to plug our array into our montage to play. But it says array of anim montage references is not compatible with anim montage references. So it isn't in the right type. We need to somehow convert it to a type it can understand here. So we will drag out from our montage array pin, type in get, and what this node is doing is it gets an entry on this index number. And an index number is basically just a position in a long list of entries. So if we click on the montage array variable and expand our montage array variable, we will have our 3 specified animations, and you will see these numbers here. These are called indexes. So if we reference the index 0, it will search for the for the value 0, and it will play this animation. But if I put in 1, for example, it will search for the index 1. So it's just kind of a positional data, like in a list in which in which position your reference can be found. Okay, we will set it back to 0, and we will directly connect it to the montage to play. Okay, now when we would run it, we would get into another problem. We will get stuck in our first animation montage all the time because the index doesn't change. So in order to prevent that from happening, we will create another variable. So click on add new variable and call it current montage int. Now go on the right panel on the variable type and select boolean, no, not boolean, but integer. And click on this grid symbol because we don't want to use an array, and select this bar-like button here. This will basically create it as a single variable. Now drag in our current montage integer, select get, and put this into our get node. Okay, that's already the first part we could set up. Now the next part is we actually just passed in our current montage integer. It still doesn't add to our current montage. So to do that, we drag out the current montage variable, select get, drag out from this blue pin, from this green pin, type in the plus sign, and take the integer plus integer option. We will automatically get a 1 down here, and we don't want to change it, so leave it as it is. Then we drag again our current montage int out into the graph and select set this time around. We will then connect this green pin with our current montage int set, and now we have actually the functionality that it will increase our current montage 1 by 1. Okay. Now comes the next thing. Well, if we just have 3 entries here, and we already add some new if we increase our current montage over and over again, we will at a point exceed our numbers or our amount of montage array entries. So if we have 4, it can't reference a 4 because we have no index 4 or 3. So it will fail and it will not work. So it will break your whole system. To prevent that from happening, we drag out from the montage array, from the pin, type in length, and what this basically does is that it counts all our existing montage array entries and gives the total number as an integer out. But we need some kind of conditional check to check if we actually reached this length. So right click, type in if, and select the branch. Now we will drag out from this current montage int, type in the sign is equal than, is less than, and select the integer is less than integer. And the length will be connected in the second input here. We will put it back to the condition of the branch, and it will basically check, okay, is our current montage integer still less than the amount we have in the montage array? If it is true, we will play our montage. If it is false, we will not increase anything. So we want to revert back to our first animations. In order to do that, we need to copy our set current montage integer and put it into the false pin. This will set our current montage integer to 0 again, and we will begin from the start with our montages. Now, this part is now done, and we will don't worry, we will connect them later on together. Okay. Now, what is the next step? Well, we want to actually not spam our montage play. If we do, we will never see an animation. And that's because this montage play is just spamming or being spammed with input keys. So, what can we actually do to prevent that? We can use something called a do once node. So right click, type in do once, and select it. Now what this thing does is that it takes an input from this side, passes it once through, and fires off the completed pin. if you activate the input, like the right mouse button, a second time, it will stop the symbol right at this node. It will not relay it further. So that's what a do once node does. We will connect it to the pressed execution pin. And we will first connect it to the montage play, the completed pin. Just to set it up a little bit. Okay. But the next thing would be, yeah, we could actually reset it so we can get another input through, but we don't know when our animation ends. We can solve it somehow. So we have here a lot of different options in here. The play rate, which basically is the montage play rate, and basically the montage speed. Then we have a return value type, the first one being montage length and the second one being duration. We will keep it at montage length. And we will have a segment called in time to start montage at, which basically works like you have a kick animation on the time 10 seconds. But you want to use the kick and not the fist or the sword or anything like that. So you just type in 10 and it will start at the point 10 in the montage. So that's a very handy feature if you want to start at some point in a montage. Now this montage length produces this return value. So we can read out here how long our montage is. So drag out from the return value, type in the slash sign or the float divided through float and select this float divide float. We will divide it with the value 2. And if you have custom animations and such, you have to find out your own magical number, because you will probably set up frame ranges differently than I did. So this would be needed to be manually set up, and you have to try out what works best. Okay. So what it basically does is it takes our montage length, divides it through 2, and when we drag out from the divide float, we can type in delay, and it will put this pin directly into the duration pin of the delay. So it will divide our duration and delay this chain of execution until the duration is gone. So connect the montage play to the delay node and drag out our current montage integer and select set. So now comes the next thing. We have our branch down here, and we actually don't need this because we already created it. So we just select the branch node, the current montage integer, and the current montage integer from this one here, and drag it towards this end here. We can also drag this a little bit into this direction. And we will connect the delay completed pin with the branch pin. Then we will drag our current montage integer, which is our plus function here, and connect the true to the current montage set node. Now we have it set up, but because this is not being reset, we would need to actually we would need to reset it somehow with these nodes. We could actually just connect this pin to this pin and this pin to this pin, to the reset pins. But we also want to check if our right mouse button is being pressed, because we want to have an auto combat feature. So we don't have to click consistently on the or we use the right mouse button consistently and we need to click all the time. This is just tiring for the hand, so we need some kind of an auto combat feature. So go to the left panel, click on Add New and create a variable. Call the variable is RMB pressed. And on the right panel, change the variable type to Boolean, because we will want to have a false and a true state. Okay. Now, if we have the right mouse button down, we will set the isRMB pressed to true. So drag in the isRMB pressed variable, select set, and connect the pressed execution pin to the set execution pin, and the set node to the do once node. And now check isRMB pressed. Okay. Now copy this boolean, paste it, and connect it with a release state, and uncheck isRMB pressed. Now we have our two states. How we can tell a certain condition if we want to auto attack, or if we want to revert back and stop attacking. So we need a condition to actually use this boolean. So go between the do once node and the montage play node, drag out from the completed pin and type in if, and select our branch node. Now here drag in the isRMB pressed, select get, put it into the condition pin of the branch, and our true is actually connected to our montage play. So if our right mouse button is pressed, we will fire off the true node and we will play the montage. Now the next thing we want to do is to actually loop or create a simple loop. So we always check isRMB pressed. So go to the other branch here, go to the set node here, drag out from the execution pin and connect it to the other branch before the montage play. Now go to the false pin and to our set 0 here, set current montage integer, drag out the execution pin and connect it to the if branch too. Now it will constantly check if our RMB is pressed or held down. But we still need to reset it. So we use our false statement. So if we released the RMB, the right mouse button, we will fire off the false and we will reset this whole system. But now we would say, yeah, okay, we can try it out. Let's see if it works. 1, 2, 3. But when I continue to the second attack and then just release my right mouse button and then continue again, it will continue where I left off. But that looks kind of stupid. And if you have montages which can't continue on such an animation, you would want to basically revert back to the first animation. So we disconnect the false pin here and break the link. Drag in the current montage int, select set, and connect the false with the set node and the set to the reset node. So our false statement fires off the set node and sets it on 0. So we start on index 0 again. Let's try it out. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and I released my right mouse button, and 1, 2. She restarted again on the first animation montage. So this system works, and yeah, I hope it wasn't too confusing or too many infos. But yeah, I wish you a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, or whatever, and I hopefully see you next time. So, see ya.